Welcome to Thought Frontier.
Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're diving into a topic that's super important for a cleaner future: energy storage.
It's really vital.
And we're not just talking about your regular batteries like the ones in your phone. We're going way beyond lithium-ion and pumped hydro to check out some truly mind-blowing solutions.
Absolutely.
Concrete blocks that act like giant batteries, caverns filled with liquid air. It's all on the table today.
Yeah, we really got to think outside the box to make renewable energy a reality, Not just a dream, but something we can rely on.
Okay, so first let's lay out the problem, right? Why is energy storage such a big deal as we're moving towards solar and wind power?
Well, think about solar power, right? It floods the grid on sunny days, but what happens when the sun goes down?
Or if clouds roll in.
Exactly. That's where this thing called the duck curve comes in.
The duck curve, okay, I'm picturing duck, but I'm sure it's something more technical.
Well, it's a graph, actually. It shows how energy demand dips during the day when solar is abundant and then spikes in the evening as the sun sets.
Oh, I see. So we have this surplus of energy when we don't need it, and then a shortage when we do.
Exactly. Traditional methods like pumped hydro have helped, but they're limited. They need specific geographic conditions,
Oh, yeah.
mountains, rivers,
Yeah, not every region has the perfect spot for a giant reservoir.
Right, and then there's lithium-ion batteries. They're great for small devices, but not ideal for grid-scale storage.
The price of lithium is so unpredictable, too. And then there's the lifespan and environmental impact of mining those materials.
All big issues. So let's talk about some of the more innovative solutions out there. Have you heard about this company, Energy Vault? They're doing some amazing things with gravity.
Gravity. How do you store energy with gravity?
Picture this. A giant crane in the Swiss Alps, stacking massive concrete blocks.
Like a giant Jenga game.
Kinda, but it's all about harnessing gravity. When there's extra energy on the grid, the crane lifts those blocks, storing that energy as potential energy.
So it's like a giant slow-motion pendulum.
Yeah, you got it. When demand spikes, they lower the blocks, spinning generators that send power back to the grid.
And they're using recycled materials for those blocks, too,
Right.
Making it even more sustainable.
Exactly. They're also moving to a more modular design called EVX, which means they can deploy these systems anywhere and tailor them to different needs.
Okay, so Energy Vault is using gravity on a massive scale. But what about this company that's dropping weights down mine shafts? It sounds almost too simple.
Right. That's gravitricity, and they're using abandoned mines to create their own kind of gravity-based storage.
So they're repurposing existing infrastructure instead of building new towers. Clever.
They're focusing on something called frequency response. So let's say there's a sudden drop in wind power. Their system reacts almost instantly, releasing those weights to provide a burst of energy and stabilize the grid.
Like a backup generator, but powered by gravity. I love it.
Precisely. And they have a prototype in Scotland with potential for repurposing mines in other places like Czechia and South Africa. Pretty cool, right?
Absolutely. So we've got two very different approaches using gravity. What other innovations are out there?
Well, get this. Researchers at MIT have figured out a way to turn concrete into an energy storage device.
Concrete, really?
Yep, they've developed a special supercapacitor using cement, carbon black, and water.
So buildings and roads could potentially become batteries.
That's the idea. Imagine house foundations doubling as energy storage, charged by rooftop solar. Or think about concrete roadways wirelessly charging electric vehicles as they drive.
That's incredible. Okay, my mind is officially blown. We've got gravity-powered cranes, weights in mine shafts, energy storing concrete, and we haven't even touched on liquid air storage.
Highview Power is leading the way there. They've figured out a way to compress and cool air until it becomes liquid.
Wait, so we're talking about filling massive tanks with liquid air? How much energy can you actually store that way?
It's impressive. Think of a concert hall filled with liquid air. That's the scale we're talking about. And they make the whole system more efficient by using the heat generated during compression to warm the liquid air when they need to release the energy.
So it's like a giant air conditioner that doubles as a power source? Amazing. But with all these incredible technologies, how do they all fit together?
That's the key question, right? We're realizing that there won't be one single solution for our energy storage needs. It's got to be a diverse portfolio of technologies, each with its strengths and weaknesses.
So it's not about choosing a winner, but figuring out how these approaches can work together to build a truly robust and sustainable energy system.
Exactly. And that's what's so exciting about this field. We're on the edge of a major energy revolution, and energy storage is right at the heart of it.
We've been talking about some really amazing energy storage technologies. gravity-powered systems, concrete that acts like a battery. It's all pretty mind-blowing. But it's important to remember that this isn't just about cool tech, right? This is about solving a real problem. How do we create a reliable and sustainable energy grid for the future?
Absolutely. These technologies are exciting, for sure, but they need to be practical and address those real-world challenges of moving to a cleaner energy system.
Exactly. So let's jump back into the specifics. We were just talking about Highview Power and their liquid air energy storage system.
It sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. And one of its biggest advantages is that it can store energy for a long time, which is really important as we depend more on renewables like solar and wind.
Right, because those sources aren't constant. The sun doesn't always shine, and the wind doesn't always blow. We need a way to, save up that energy for when we really need it. Exactly. Think about a few cloudy days in a row, or a week with not much wind. Lithium-ion batteries might be okay for short-term storage, but for those longer periods, liquid air could be a game changer.
So it's like having a big energy reserve, like a safety net, to get us through those times when renewable energy production dips. But how efficient is this whole process? Doesn't it take a lot of energy to compress and cool the air down to a liquid?
It does take energy, yeah. But Highview Power has figured out a way to capture the heat generated during compression. And then they use that heat to warm up the liquid air when they need to release the energy.
Oh, that's smart. So they're kind of recycling the heat.
Exactly. And they're constantly refining the tech to make it even more efficient and cost-effective, which is key if it's going to be adopted on a larger scale.
Makes sense. So liquid air has a lot of potential for long-duration storage. But you mentioned earlier that there isn't one perfect solution for energy storage. We need a mix of technologies. Why is that so important?
Well, consider the different ways we use energy. Some things need a quick burst of power, like flicking on a light switch.
Or starting your car.
Exactly. Others need a steady flow of energy over a long period, like heating your home or powering a factory.
Right. Different tasks, different energy demands, and I guess different energy storage solutions are better suited for those varying needs.
Exactly. We need some tech that can provide those short bursts, like for frequency regulation, that helps keep the grid stable when there are sudden changes in supply or demand.
Kind of like those weights and mine shafts, right? Providing that almost instant boost.
Right. And then we need tech that can store huge amounts of energy for days, weeks even, to really support a future based on renewables.
It's like having a toolbox with lots of different tools. You wouldn't use a hammer to tighten a screw.
I like that analogy. And just like tools, each energy storage tech has its strengths and weaknesses.
Some are better for large-scale projects, while others are better suited for homes and businesses.
Yep. And some might be more cost-effective in certain areas, depending on, geography, climate, even existing infrastructure.
Makes sense. So it's not about picking a winner. It's about understanding the specific characteristics of each technology and figuring out how they can all work together
Right.
to create a more resilient and sustainable system overall.
You got it. Now, we've talked about these big-scale technologies like pump hydro, energy vault, and liquid air. But what about energy storage on a smaller level, like in homes and businesses?
That's a great point. I was just thinking about that. What's happening there?
Some cool stuff. Remember those MIT concrete supercapacitors we talked about?
Yeah.
Imagine homes being able to store the energy they generate from their solar panels.
So instead of sending extra energy back to the grid, they could just save it for later.
Exactly. It would give people more independence, make them less reliant on the grid, and it could help lower the strain on the grid during those peak demand times.
It's like each house becomes its own little power station.
Yeah, contributing to a more distributed and resilient energy system.
I love that. It's not just homes either, right? Businesses could benefit too. Lower energy bills, reduce their carbon footprint. They could even have backup power during outages.
For sure. It's really amazing to think about how this tech could change how we think about energy. It's not just something we passively use anymore. It's something we can actively manage and control.
It's empowering. And a key step towards a more sustainable and equitable energy future, right?
Absolutely. But let's not forget about some of the other cool approaches. What about storing energy with sand?
Sand? Like from the beach?
Yep. It might sound weird, but researchers are looking at sand and even scrap metal to store energy. Kind of like pumped hydro, but with different materials.
Okay, so they lift the material up high using excess electricity, and that stores the energy as gravitational potential energy.
You got it. Then, when they need that energy back, they release the sand or metal, and it spins turbines to generate electricity.
Interesting. So instead of water, they're using sand or metal. But what's the advantage there?
Well, sand is everywhere, it's abundant, and it doesn't have the same environmental impact as water, especially in places where water is scarce.
And using scrap metal could help cut down on waste.
Exactly, creating a more circular economy. So it's about finding creative, sustainable ways to use the power of gravity, even if it seems a bit out there.
Love it. It seems like there's so much innovation happening in this field. We're discovering all these new ways to store energy. It's really exciting. But it's important to remember that energy storage isn't just about the tech itself, right? It's about the economics too.
100%. We can have amazing tech, but if it costs a fortune, it won't make a real difference.
Right. So the good news is the cost of these energy storage technologies is going down, making them more accessible to people and businesses.
That's a huge factor. And think about the economic benefits beyond affordability. Widespread energy storage could create a whole new industry. Jobs in manufacturing, installation, maintenance, research and development.
So economic growth and job creation, that's always good to hear. But what about the impact on everyday consumers? How will this affect our wallets?
As energy storage becomes more common, it could help keep prices stable. Remember the duck curve? Energy storage helps smooth out those peaks and dips in demand.
Oh, I see. So that could lead to lower electric bills for everyone.
Exactly. And as it becomes more integrated into the grid, energy storage could give people more control over their energy use.
Like being able to store the energy from your own solar panels and use it later when electricity prices are higher.
Right. It's like taking control of your own energy.
It's a pretty cool idea. But what about the environmental and social impacts of all this? Are there any downsides we should consider?
That's a really important point. We need to make sure the materials are sourced responsibly and that the manufacturing is environmentally friendly.
Yeah, we're talking about clean energy here, so the whole process needs to be sustainable.
Absolutely. We need to look at the whole life cycle, from manufacturing and deployment to operating these systems and eventually decommissioning them.
So with lithium-ion batteries, for example, we need to consider the mining of those materials.
Right, and the potential for pollution or disrupting natural habitats.
And for tech that involves a lot of construction, like pumped hydro or energy vault, we need to assess the impact on land use and ecosystems.
For sure.
But some of the technologies we discussed, like gravitricity, using those abandoned mines, seem to have a plus there. They're repurposing existing infrastructure.
Good point. And solutions that use materials that are abundant and low impact, like those sand-based systems, are promising from an environmental standpoint, too.
So it's about carefully thinking about the pros and cons of each technology and trying to minimize negative environmental impacts throughout their whole life cycle.
Exactly. And as the field keeps advancing, we should see more innovations that prioritize sustainability and social responsibility.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring the science behind energy storage, the economic side of things, and the environmental considerations. It's definitely complex, but also incredibly exciting.
It is. We're at the beginning of a major change in how we generate, store, and use energy. It's really amazing to be a part of it.
We've covered so much in our deep dive into energy storage. Giant concrete blocks, sand as a storage medium, it's wild. But as we wrap things up, I want to shift gears a bit and think about what all this means for us, for people and communities everywhere.
Yeah, it's a good point. We talk about megawatts and gigawatts, but at the end of the day, it's about powering people's lives.
Exactly. So how can these innovations empower people? I mean, on a more personal level.
Well, imagine living somewhere remote where electricity is unreliable or maybe there's no grid access at all. Energy storage, especially with solar panels or wind turbines, can be a game changer.
It's like bringing energy independence to communities that haven't had reliable access.
Exactly. It levels the playing field, creates opportunities for better lives. And as these technologies become more affordable, more people can benefit, taking control of their own energy needs.
It's like giving them the tools to build their own energy future, no matter where they live.
It's a huge shift. And it goes beyond individuals, too. Energy storage can make entire communities stronger. Think about a neighborhood where homes and businesses have their own systems, like a little microgrid.
So if there's a power outage, they're not completely reliant on that central grid, which can be vulnerable.
Right. They become more self-sufficient and resilient. And those community systems can ease the strain on the larger grid, too. So everyone benefits.
It's amazing to think about how this tech is not only changing how we store energy, but also how the whole system works. It's a move towards something more decentralized, more democratic, more resilient.
It really is. It's a thrilling time to be part of this field. We're pushing boundaries, seeing innovations that could transform the energy landscape in the years to come.
We've talked about the tech advancements, the economics, the potential for social good. But one last question. What does all this mean for the future of energy?
That's the million-dollar question, right? But I think energy storage is going to play a huge role. It's the key to making renewable energy work on a large scale, building a truly sustainable system.
So we can move away from fossil fuels, which are polluting and limited, and rely on the sun, wind, and other renewable sources, and we can store that energy for whenever we need it.
Exactly. We're not limited by the weather or time of day anymore. Energy storage gives us that freedom.
It's a future worth fighting for. And as we've explored, that future is getting closer. It's amazing what's happening in the world of energy storage. So as you go about your day, we hope you'll think about the role energy plays in your life and how these technologies might shape your own energy future. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.